Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're diving into something that affects literally every single one of us. We're going on this really fascinating journey to decode the invisible, primal forces that drive everyone around us. And yeah, that includes you and me. We've all had those moments, right? Where human behavior just leaves us completely baffled. But by the end of this explainer, I promise you're going to see the world and the people in it through a totally new, crystal clear lens.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're starting with a brilliant quote from the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. He says that when you encounter meanness or stupidity, you shouldn't let it distress you. Instead, look at it like a mineralogist stumbling upon a brand new rock specimen. And this perfectly frames our whole approach today. We're going to stop taking toxic, irrational behavior as a personal attack and start observing it as a fascinating specimen of human nature.
Section 1. The Stranger Within Us. Human Irrationality.
So we're constantly dealing with this universal problem, people who make absolutely zero logical sense. Tell me you haven't experienced some of these everyday behavioral mysteries. I mean, we fall under the spell of charming leaders brimming with enthusiasm, only to find out later their confidence is totally irrational. Or we deal with passive-aggressive colleagues, the ones who always CC the boss on trivial emails, or even friends who secretly sabotage us out of pure envy. But hey, it's not just other people. Think about how often we say things we immediately regret. It's like some internal tension just leaked right out of us. Or we fall for the exact wrong type of person for the third time in a row. It's almost as if we harbor a stranger within us, like this little demon who operates completely independently of our own willpower.
And when these things happen, we naturally try to find explanations, but we usually just default to these lazy, surface-level excuses. We tell ourselves, oh, that person is just evil, or, I don't know, something just came over me. But let's be real. Those pat descriptions do not help us prevent the same destructive patterns from happening all over again. If we actually want to stop these cycles, we have to move to a deeper understanding. We need to dive way below the surface to fathom the true deep roots of human irrationality and grandiosity.
Section 2. The Illusion of Control, Beneath Our Awareness.
To get to those deep roots, though, we have to confront a pretty terrifying reality. We really like to think of our behavior as largely conscious and fully under our control, but we're actually subject to forces from deep within us that drive our actions completely below our level of awareness. Think about your anger, or maybe a sudden burst of insecurity. In the moment, we usually just point our finger at whoever is standing in front of us. But if we dig a little deeper, those emotions usually have deep childhood roots or very specific situational triggers. In the heat of the moment, the illusion of free will is totally destroyed. We are literally just riding the emotion.
To really understand why we're wired this way, let's just map out the evolution of human emotion. Let's travel back, say, 5 million years. Before the invention of language, our earliest ancestors' survival depended entirely on reading complex emotions, like joy, shame, resentment, directly on each other's faces. They literally evolved to become extremely permeable to the emotions of their group just to survive danger. Then, moving into early human history, we see tribal instincts and this constant need for status ranking emerge in hunter-gatherer societies. And that brings us right to the present day. That ancient primal wiring, it still dictates our modern everyday behavior.
So what exactly does that ancient wiring look like today? Well, we are basically running on a primal operating system. Because of our evolution, we are still highly susceptible to group moods. We have this constant, burning need to rank our self-worth and status. We instinctively divide the whole world into insiders versus outsiders. And because we so desperately want to belong, we wear masks to hide any desires our modern tribe might frown upon. This constant repression, it actually creates a dark, shadow personality. And this perfectly illustrates a huge shift in human understanding. See, our ancestors used to think this dark shadow came from literal spirits and demons that needed exorcising. Today, we just use a different myth. We just say, well, something came over me.
Section 3. Human Nature in the Digital Age, Amplifying Instincts.
Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, we're sophisticated, technological humans now. We've totally moved past all this primitive stuff. But actually, ignoring this ancient programming today is basically playing with fire. Social media doesn't diminish our ancient instincts, it massively amplifies them. Our primitive emotional permeability has found its absolute perfect medium. I mean, viral emotional effects sweep through us instantly now. Manipulative leaders can easily exploit those raw group emotions with a single post. The virtual world allows people to let their dark shadow sides run wild without any real-world repercussions. Our ancient status seeking is intensified by instant communication, And our tribal need to divide the world into insiders and outsiders, that's created virtual echo chambers that lead directly to mob intimidation. The potential for mayhem has literally only increased.
Section 4. Deciphering the code. Understanding ourselves.
So what's the solution here? How do we stop blindly reacting and actually take back control? It's time to stop groping in the dark. For this, we turn to our main source material for this explainer, Robert Greene's incredible book, The Laws of Human Nature. I want you to consider this text your ultimate decoder ring. It is a brutally realistic codebook designed to decipher all of it, the ordinary, the strange, and the destructive human behaviors we face every single day.
Now, what's really fascinating about this is the sheer weight of the scientific evidence backing these laws up. We finally have a century of deep psychological and biological insights to pull from here. We're talking detailed studies on childhood development by Klein and Bowlby, Heinz Kutz's work on the roots of narcissism, Carl Jung's brilliant explorations of the shadow personality, Paul Ekman on how our emotions are configured, plus all these cutting-edge brain studies and observations of primate behavior. We literally finally have the data to understand our own species.
Section 5. Transforming your perspective. Transforming yourself.
Once you really absorb this knowledge, absolutely everything changes. This decoder ring will completely transform how you interact with the world, and it happens in a series of shifts. Shift 1 makes you a strategic observer. You'll free yourself from the emotional drama that just needlessly drains your energy. Instead of constantly worrying if people like you or disliking you, you just step back. Then Shift 2 makes you a master interpreter. You'll learn to read the subtle cues people emit, which will completely alter your ability to judge their true character.
So the crucial point to remember is this. When people make insinuating comments, act cold towards you, or just snap at you, you have to remember they are dealing with desires and disappointments that predate you by decades. You just happen to cross their path and become a convenient target for their projection. Once you realize this, you stop taking their toxicity personally, and let me tell you, that is incredibly liberating.
And as a master interpreter, you're going to learn to decode the masks people wear. First off, mistrust your initial judgments. People are fantastic at impression management. The genius strategy here is to actually think in opposites. When you see someone displaying hypermasculinity or extreme confidence, it almost always conceals a deep insecurity. Notice those very public displays of saintliness, too. They are often hiding a pretty dark shadow. And pay close attention to out-of-character actions. When someone does something that seems totally out of character, it's actually a leak. It's a glimpse of their true character shining through.
Let's look at how this builds right into shifts 3 and 4. Outthinking toxic types and discovering true motivation levers. This is where things get really interesting and you gain some immense tactical advantages.
By truly understanding human nature, you gain these immense tactical advantages. You'll start spotting the elaborate cover stories of manipulative people well in advance. When you mentally cut toxic people down to size and see the glaring weaknesses behind all their bluster, your absolute calmness will actually infuriate them. It completely neutralizes their intimidation tactics and pushes them into making mistakes. Plus, you learn the true art of influence. Instead of arguing, you just lower people's resistance by validating their self-opinion and carefully avoiding stirring up their deep insecurities. You'll even learn to influence them simply by altering your own energy and mood. Because remember, we are highly permeable social animals.
Finally, we reach the absolute ultimate level of self-mastery with shifts 5 and 6, altering your own negative patterns and developing radical empathy. We have to turn the lens inward to our own flaws and then outward to truly, authentically connect with others.
There is an absolutely vital truth we just have to accept here. We are all cut from the same cloth, and we all share the same tendencies. It is so incredibly easy to read about toxic traits and think, oh yeah, that's my boss for sure, or wow, that perfectly explains my ex. But we really have to stop self-deluding. We share the exact same narcissistic, aggressive, and envious tendencies as everyone else. Acknowledging your own shadow is quite literally the only way to gain the power to alter your own negative patterns.
Which leaves us with this final, critical question. Will you remain a pawn to human nature, endlessly pushed and pulled around by invisible primal forces? Or are you ready to look within? By using the code book we've explored today, you can finally stop groping in the dark. You can decode the behavior of others, master your own inner stranger, and navigate the human world with profound clarity and radical empathy. The choice is yours.